Bilal Sarwary is an Afghan journalist who has covered the country for more than 20 years and recently left for safety reasons. I asked him if keeping 2,500 U.S. troops in Afghanistan would have made a difference.
Well, Afghan officials called it the best insurance for the Americans back then when there was fear of a total withdrawal of American forces. I remember many Afghan officials who have had a close relationship with the Americans would tell me, look, for 18 months, not a single American soldier was killed, and it was a sign that the Taliban will not be able to take the country militarily. At least the Taliban would realize that the American troops were there. We also have to remember when the American forces withdrew completely from a place like Bagram, they took with them the contractors who are helping maintain the Afghan Air Force. You know, the Afghan Special Forces were crippled, for example. You know, the Special Mission Wing, uh, the pilots, the helicopters, which had the ability to operate during the night time, not only against the Taliban and Al-Qaeda and other militants, but also counter-narcotics operations. They were not simply able to do their job. So, as a result of that announcement by the U.S. president that come hell or high water, he was leaving in a few months' time, many Afghan soldiers, commanders, and players at the district, village, and provincial level started taking Taliban surrender deals, Taliban insurance deals, and it really started to break down in terms of the NDSF and the government and everyone else.
Well, Bilal, the other thing I found interesting is that these generals also said no one saw the fall of the Afghan government in 11 days. The intelligence simply failed. I mean, how does the most powerful military in the world get it so wrong?
I think it was perhaps, the intelligence failure of the century for the Americans, but it is also true that Taliban commanders and leaders and fighters were in very central parts of Kabul city for 2 to 3 years. We saw that on the day when they came out on their motorcycles from, neighborhoods that were housing senior Afghan intelligence and military officials. And the Afghan government also failed miserably on that front. But what is also important here to notice that the Taliban were speaking of military victory from the very get-go, and their fight continued. They never stopped fighting. For example, when the announcement was made that the American forces will be withdrawing, the Taliban started attacking district centers in very strategic provinces, at least close to Kabul. Then it was the provincial capitals. And it is true that the Americans continued carrying airstrikes even until the last minute in parts of Kabul city, I could say, when I was there. But, everything crumbled because the former president fled, not even telling his own ministers. His minister of defense didn't know. His chief of army staff didn't know. And we have now confirmation that the last meeting that President Ghani at the time held with U.S. envoys, the Americans promised him special ops, intelligence, and air power and urged him to fight.
Our thanks to Bilal Sarwary.